Sparta, famous for its invincible discipline and its army feared throughout the Greek world, seemed unbeatable. But like all great powers, the day came when its supremacy was challenged by a new force, Rome. How was it possible that a rising power defeated this legend of antiquity? In this video, we will discover how Rome, with its strategy and military power, managed to destroy Spartan supremacy and change the fate of Greece forever. If you're ready to learn this fascinating story of power, resistance, and conquest, stay with us. To understand how Rome defeated Sparta, we need to go back to the year 371 BC, when one of the greatest defeats in Spartan history occurred. This defeat marked the beginning of the end for Spartan supremacy. The Battle of Leuctra, fought in the fields of Leuctra in Boeotia, was a turning point. There, the Theban army, commanded by the strategist Epaminondas, challenged and defeated the Spartan forces, which until then had been considered invincible. Although the Spartans had a numerical advantage of around 12,000 soldiers, the Thebans, with only 7,500 fighters, showed that quality and tactical innovation could overcome quantity. The battle began with a confrontation between the cavalry, where the Thebans emerged victorious, forcing the Spartan cavalry to retreat toward the infantry lines. What followed was a revolutionary tactic by Epaminondas. The left wing of the Theban army advanced with force and speed, breaking the Spartan lines, and in a fatal blow, killed the Spartan king Cleobrandos I, the first Spartan king to die in battle in over a century. The death of Cleobrandos completely destabilized Spartan morale, leading to the disintegration of their lines and the flight of their troops. The Spartans suffered heavy casualties, with estimates ranging from 1,000 to 4,000 dead, while the Thebans lost only about 300 soldiers. The victory of Thebes not only challenged Spartan supremacy but also marked the beginning of a new hegemony in Greece, which would last for several years and change the course of Greek history. While Sparta began to crumble, Rome emerged as an unstoppable force in the ancient world. After its decisive victory in the Second Punic War against Carthage, the Roman Republic consolidated its supremacy in the Western Mediterranean, along with unparalleled military and political power. The defeat of Carthage not only secured control of key territories in the Mediterranean but also marked Rome as the new dominant power in the region. But what began as a victory in the West soon transformed into an expansion eastward. Rome, with its disciplined legions and an efficient political structure, was ready to face new challenges. And the first great challenge came from Greece, where the city-states, although culturally rich, were politically fragmented and in a period of instability. With the growing weakness of the Greek city-states, Rome began to expand its influence in the region, initially for commercial and diplomatic purposes. But soon, their intentions became clearer and more aggressive, starting to take an active role in local conflicts and influencing the internal decisions of the Greek city-states. Despite their rich cultural legacy, the Greek city-states were going through a period of political instability. After the Macedonian Wars and several internal conflicts, Greece was fragmented, with cities like Athens, Sparta, and Thebes fighting to maintain their independence. Although they remained culturally strong, the ancient Greek city-states could no longer cope with the challenges they faced, both internal and external. Tensions between them, combined with the Macedonian invasions, further weakened their political and military power. In this scenario of weakness, Rome began to seize opportunities to expand its influence. The Romans not only intervened in internal disputes but also began to form strategic alliances with some of these cities, gaining access to their wealth and territories. Thus, Rome began weaving a web of influence that would make it increasingly powerful. As the Greek cities became more vulnerable, Rome advanced stealthily, gaining ground both diplomatically and militarily, positioning itself to become the new dominant power in the region. Rome began to increasingly enter Greek politics, initially offering its help as protectors and allies. However, what seemed like an act of solidarity soon transformed into a strategy to expand its influence over the Greek city-states. At first, Rome presented itself as an ally willing to help the Greek cities maintain their autonomy, but gradually, its military and diplomatic agreements began to favor Rome. These agreements allowed the Romans to influence the internal decisions of the cities, ensuring their access to wealth and key territories. As Roman influence grew, the Greek cities, which still maintained a rich cultural tradition, found themselves under pressure to cede more power to Rome. Although the Greek city-states continued to exist as separate entities, Rome granted them protection, but at the cost of its growing political and military influence. Rome not only used its legions to expand its power but also became a diplomatic power, creating a network of allies and vassals that stretched across the eastern Mediterranean. The Achaean League, a confederation of Greek city-states, had been formed with the aim of maintaining Greece's independence and unity. However, as Rome advanced in the region, the League's aspirations were increasingly threatened. Facing growing Roman pressure, the Achaean League made the decision to confront the emerging power directly. Fearing Rome's strength, the League opposed Rome's growing influence in Greece, but this challenge would only accelerate Rome's intervention in the region. Rome, using the same strategy it had employed with other nations, sent its army to crush the Achaean League's resistance. This was not only a military conflict but also a question of power and control over the future of Greece. As Rome took control of more cities, the independence of the Greek city-states began to fade. The Achaean League, once a symbol of Greek unity, was defeated, and with it, the fate of Greek autonomy was sealed. In 146 BC, Rome delivered a decisive blow to Greek resistance by destroying the city of Corinth, one of the most important cultural centers of ancient Greece. The city of Corinth, which still maintained significant influence in the region, was at the epicenter of the resistance to Rome's growing presence. The Achaean League, still trying to resist Rome's advance, feared that Corinth, as a bastion of Greek culture, would become a symbol of opposition to Roman domination. In response, Rome decided to eradicate any resistance and secure its total dominance in the region. Roman commander Lucius Mummius Achaicus was sent with the mission to suppress the resistance. He marched toward Corinth with an unstoppable army, and the cities he encountered along the way were brought down one by one, like a row of dominoes. Finally, when Mummius arrived at Corinth, the city was plundered, burned, and destroyed. The men who were not killed in battle were taken prisoner, while women and children were sold as slaves. The destruction of Corinth was not just a military act but also a clear message: Rome had come to stay, and ancient Greece, as it was known, had come to an end. Despite Rome's victory and the destruction of Corinth, Sparta, which had been an ally of Rome, was not destroyed or plundered like other Greek cities. Although it was no longer the powerful military force it once was, the Romans recognized Sparta's symbolic value. Although the city lost much of its political and military influence, Rome decided to keep it under its control without destroying it, partly out of respect for its history and legacy. Sparta continued to exist, but no longer as the warrior city it had been at its peak. Under Roman rule, Sparta maintained some autonomy, but its role in the Greek world and Roman politics was significantly reduced. There were no more Spartan soldiers marching through its streets, nor was there an unbeatable army defending its territory. Sparta, once the cradle of discipline and military power, was now only a shadow of what it had been. Over the following centuries, the city slowly faded from memory as Rome consolidated its dominance in the region. The fall of Sparta was a turning point in the history of ancient Greece. What began as a great military power slowly vanished under the weight of the emerging forces of Rome. Though Sparta was never destroyed, its power and political influence were extinguished as it was absorbed into Roman dominion. The story of Sparta is a reminder of how even the most powerful civilizations can fall, not only through military force but through the strategic ability of a determined enemy. Rome, with its political cunning and military might, was able to subjugate one of the most feared powers of antiquity. Today, Sparta is still remembered for its courage, discipline, and cultural legacy. But like many other peoples in history, its power was surpassed by the unstoppable advance of Rome. If you were surprised by the story of how Rome defeated Sparta and how Greece's fate was transformed, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it. What do you think about the fall of Sparta? Leave your comments below. See you in the next video.